Australians are rich, very rich. In fact, we are one of the richest citizens in the entire world. Close to 10% of our adult population is worth over $1 million, and that is in US dollars, not in Aussie dollars. And only 0.32% of the world population live in this country. With a landmass of over 7.688 million square kilometers, it is a country and a continent all on its own. And with only 25.69 million inhabitants, we clock in at 3.3 people per square kilometer, while China has 153 per square kilometer, USA 36 per square kilometer, UK 281 per square kilometer, and 58.7 per square meter globally. Australia is the 13th largest economy in the world with more than $1.3 trillion in GDP. It sits a spot above Spain and one below South Korea. And while South Korea share their wealth with 51 million people and Spain with 46 million people, Australia shares the comparable GDP with just 25.69 million people. The average Australian adult is now worth $483,755, which is higher than Luxembourg, $477,306. And this figure has put Australians in the first place as the richest citizens in the world. And the median person of Australia has more wealth than just about any other country. Countries that have more wealth include microstates such as Monaco and Liechtenstein. Keep also in mind that during the global financial crisis, when a lot of countries went into recession and wealth levels dropped significantly, the Australian economy managed to avoid it. So why or how is Australia so rich? First and foremost is the land itself. The Australian economy has been blessed with massive deposits of natural resources. Things were even better when the prices of almost all commodities skyrocketed post-pandemic. Australia is the world's largest producer of iron ore, bauxite and opal. It is the second largest producer of gold, manganese and lead. And then there are other commodities within the Australian economy such as zinc, cobalt, uranium, natural gas, coal and many more. And uranium is a big one. Australia has around 1/3 of the world's uranium resources and is the world's third ranking producer, accounting for approximately 10% of annual global production. Russia's war in Ukraine and its willingness to shut off gas supplies to Europe means uranium is in high demand. So much so that in March this year, refined uranium was $86 a pound, up from $27 a pound in late 2017. So as countries scramble to strengthen energy securities, many are turning to nuclear. Japan plans to reopen closed nuclear reactors. France is planning new reactors to begin replacing its aging and troublesome fleet of 56 reactors. Belgium has kept reactors from closing, while Poland is planning new ones to open. And this is triggering fresh uranium investments across Australia that includes Queensland's sparsely populated northwest, where Australian and Canadian mining companies are acquiring new mineral leases and quietly adding uranium to their ore inventories. And what is really peculiar about Australia is that whilst it is a major uranium exporter, it is ruling out nuclear power as an energy option. To the point that prior to Russia and Ukraine war and the power cutoffs to Europe, South Australia had the highest power price in the world. And who do we trust other than Elon Musk to save our soaring prices? Circling back to the topic, Australia is in the best geographical position to export to developing and high-demand Asian countries including China, Japan, South Korea and Singapore, accounting for more than $246 billion in exports. Another strong benefit of the mining industry is that it helps provide high-paying jobs to both high and low-skilled Australian workers. And according to Australian Bureau of Statistics, the mining sector employs over 250,000 people, and wait till you hear their salaries. Their median weekly salary clocks in at Australian $2,325 compared to $1,500 for the overall economy. Even casual employees in mining had a median weekly average above Australian $2,000. Some entry-level positions will pay upwards of Australian $100,000 for highly skilled graduates. However, mining isn't everything here in Australia. People get on with their lives doing other things just as much. So let's look into other things that make money. Real estate. How is Australian housing and real estate? Australia is one of the hottest destinations for migration, study or working. Population is concentrated around few urban hotspots like Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. And Sydney's housing market is so hot that it is the second most expensive housing market in the world. And Melbourne has the 5th most expensive housing in the world. Sydney's median house price is 15 times the median salary and the ratio is 12 in Melbourne. It is not uncommon for Australian property prices to increase over 10% per annum, and in some years it has increased by over 20%. If you're a homeowner in Sydney or Melbourne, you've lived some good times in the recent decade. However, if you're trying to get into the property market, it is not ideal unless you know of jobs increasing salaries by over 20% per year. Australian property prices are also pushed up significantly thanks to government policies such as negative gearing, which enables investors to buy property in a tax-efficient way, which in my personal opinion, it isn't particularly the best way to become rich, but I do concede that it has a macroeconomic benefit. Furthermore, Australia has some of the most restrictive plans planning restrictions, which make it challenging to boost supply. And as a real estate investor myself, I never saw it this way, but it does create opportunities for growth when increasing densities through approval or rezoning. So land zoning really matters a lot when it comes to property and development. According to the Reserve Bank of Australia, zoning increased prices of land by 73% in Sydney, 69% in Melbourne, 42% in Brisbane, and 54% in Perth. These zoning restrictions have been tightening since 2000, which has contributed to high house price growth. These restrictions are strict and costly to bypass or alter. And for many Australians, property has been the asset that has made them wealthy. If you bought a property in Sydney or Melbourne 30 years ago and just pay the mortgage down, it is easily likely that you would have a net worth of over $1 million Australian. Property has definitely helped more than mining, but there is one final piece to the puzzle, and that explains why Australians are so wealthy, and that is superannuation. Superannuation, or if you're American, 401k, and for people in the UK, it's similar to contribution pensions. In Australia, employers are required to make a contribution to a super fund on their employees' behalf at a rate sitting currently at 9.5%. So let's throw an example. If you're a regular Aussie earning about $100,000, your employer will be contributing $10,000 each year to your superannuation. For the sake of simplicity, if inflation was zero and your salary never increased a cent for over 35 years of your career, and your super was invested in a standard equity fund which averages a 8% return on investment each year, then you would have a superannuation pot worth over $1.84 million. Even if you're an Aussie making $50,000 per annum, under the same assumption, your retirement fund would be worth $921,000. Not bad considering that the minimum wage here in Australia sits around $40,000 per annum. The superannuation scheme basically guarantees that every Australian worker will be wealthy in retirement. This is what has helped Australians become some of the richest people in the world. In the grand scheme of prosperity across the world, yes, Australia is doing fantastically well, but if you ask the same question here, people will still find something wrong and complain. I guess there's no such thing as a perfect policy. And it's interesting to find that there is a line in the Australian national anthem which reads, "With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea, our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare."